Well, howdy, nearly senior citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends, and welcome to this, a brand new day. It is chill outside, gray, overcast, it's damp, so it's probably going to rain today. Thumbs up for that. And yet, last night, with a fan in my window, on high, and a fan at the foot of my bed, on high, and only a sheet and a fleecy blanket, I was almost too warm. But still, no cramping, and I actually slept once I got there. So very, very good. Hopefully you were able to sleep last night as well. That would be a very good thing. And of course, front-loading of videos. Hey, if you could toss me a like, that'd be very cool. If you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be very, very cool. If you could leave me a comment, that would be double plus good. And I would like to thank each and every one of my Patreon patrons. I can't put them up on the list here, the screen anymore, but I'm going through and once again starting at the top of my list and thanking 4 people each and every day for being beautiful and wonderful people. You are all beautiful and wonderful people. If you would like to become a beautiful and wonderful person, I have links to my Patreon in the video description, as well as a PayPal for possible donations, an Amazon wishlist link that hopefully I'll get updated today. I love executive dysfunction. Thumbs up for that. Thank you, everybody. And front-loading a video is over. Oh boy. Yeah, yesterday was a day. I had a hour-long some appointment with a social worker. She got that, well, it was about 45 minutes. She got things mixed up. She thought it was for 2 o'clock. It was for 1 o'clock. So it was like 20 minutes late. But then it was like 2:20 before we finished. We talked about a lot of stuff. I am going to be having a social worker full assessment next week to see how and if they can help me through the Veterans Administration. So thumbs up. A very, very good thing. I do have that foot in the door. Definitely a good thing. I need to fill out a form for advanced directives and send that off to the VA so that if something happens while I'm in the system, I have some advanced directives. I need to do that around town, like at the hospital here too. So thumbs up for that. But that's a good thing, and I got that done. Past that, having the appointment, well, waiting mode, my day was largely thrown off. I just made a shorts video out of my song yesterday, so thumbs up if anybody watched that. But past that, I just went walkies and then came home. So I didn't really get much thought of. My leg this morning, still more tender than I like. Last night there was a little bit of localized swelling around my ankle and it was a little bit more tender. I don't know if that's good or bad, because this morning it's not bad. I could put my leg up on my right knee, and even though it still hurts in that one spot when I press it there, it takes a little bit more pressure. So I think it's still going well. On Monday, I make the big decision whether or not I need to go in or I'm doing okay. So thumbs up for that. Still though, survival is good. And then checking out the rest of my list here, there's not a whole lot because I want to talk about one big thing first. But I was watching a video on Bloodborne. I love the game Bloodborne. I watch people's various interpretations of Bloodborne. Usually they talk about this, that, and the other, but it's not that bad. They don't talk about the actual bleakness of the world and the setting. That's what this person focused on. The bleakness. Just how grim it all is. And I was actually crying again while watching it, because he focused a lot in the video. There's a spot you get to where you're in a cathedral ward, and there's a person that looks suspicious, but they're actually really good. They've got a place set up there. Send people there, they'll be safe. And it's true, this individual is really a good person. But this is Bloodborne. There is no hope. Ever. Ever. If you don't rescue them and send them to one of 2 places, they all die. If you do rescue them, there's one of 2 places you can send them to. And if you send them to the wrong place, they become experimented on and might as well be dead. If they do come to the place that is safe, The person that there is saying, please, if you find anyone, send them here. The incense keeps the monsters away. We can save them. There's an old woman you can save. Later, she wanders out into the city and dies. And then there's a prostitute you can save. There's also a nun of the church you can save. If you save them both, either the nun will kill the prostitute, or if you get it so that the prostitute doesn't die from the nun, then the prostitute will become impregnated by one of the great old ones, will give birth to a monstrous, horrendous mutant child in the sewers, and lose her mind from the horror. There is no hope in Bloodborne. The guy's ending to this thing, when he was talking about the various endings and how if you do everything right, you too can shed all your humanity and become an infant great one. And then he's like, and people called this the good ending? Fuck. Oh, excuse me. I ruined that, didn't I? You call that the good ending? Fuck you. So yeah, there's no hope ever, anywhere. Thumbs up. Now, the rest of it. I talked about UnderMarb, and I can't remember what, just the other day. I mentioned about undifferentiated space. And then I was asked by Nexor, is that a game? I tried Googling it. One of the things I'm good at is bringing up something a little bit and then referring to it ever after without ever giving any context for it for new people. UnderMarb is a setting inside of a setting. I have the inside-outside Razor's Edge. The outside is where we are. The inside is another universe. The Razor's Edge is that transition point between the two where people live because we're people. Inside of this area, there is a town in a kingdom which is Marbden. Marbden, at the time when the story starts, is a bucolic, small, pastoral type of place. But it's in the middle of all of these vast ruins. Old, ancient things like libraries, collapsed and breaking industrial things, just rotting commercial places that are, if not hundreds, thousands of years old. And it is I can't remember the good word. I can't remember the word, but it is a marvel that these things have lasted so long, and a good point about how well these things were made. But they're just all ruins. They're not safe to go to, and they stretch outward from the city central hugely. Everyone is largely farms, and there's stories and legends and myths about UnderMarb, a great vast dungeon under the city, but over the years people have looked, they haven't found anything, and so kids just live there. They adventure in this small fallen sort of valley area. And it's just boring village life, but there's all these ruins with all this junk in them. And then there's a small earthquake. And these teenagers in the village discover there is a small thing that gets opened up. And one of them crawls inside to check it out. Says, if I don't come out in 5 minutes, but then comes out with like a piece of tech. It kind of looks like what we would call a cell phone. On the front of it, the small screen is a very highly washed out, repeating loop of video. It's useless for what it was, but when it's playing, it works as a flashlight. When it runs out, they discover you leave it in the sun, it recharges, and then you can bring it back under the ground and use it as a flashlight. Because, they go underground. They start exploring. And this is UnderMarb, and they discover you go in, you find areas, but when you come back out and you go back in, it's all different, undifferentiated space. The more they go in, the more they find, the more tech they start bringing out. They're just hoarding it, keeping it together. It's small, the word's getting out that they're going underneath, and people are like, oh, okay, I guess there is a thing. But you got a farm to live. they eventually, one of them with just a hammer to do stuff, discovers like, an underground dweller. And there's a quick battle. They've got the upper hand from surprise, and they have to use their hammer to beat the thing to death. But they come out shaken and shook. So they sell stuff in the villages around to get money to buy things so that they can protect themselves with armor and weaponry. Because they're selling the tech so that they can go in and find more stuff, word gets around. People start showing up. Because there's economic activity, people start showing up to take advantage of that. Marbden starts to grow as a town and a village because there's greater activity. They start opening up Marbden, moving the things out of the way. The original teenagers grow into adults. They have formed an organization, the prototype of an adventurers guild. And they begin the organization where they start going into and opening up Marbden. And the further you go inward, of course, the more there is and the more you find. And as they start adventuring further, it might take 1 day, 2 days to get out past the explored areas. So you start leaving caches. And then eventually you leave people at an outpost. And then people start showing up from outside to sell you stuff at that outpost. And then the next thing you know, you've got all these little places underground in Marbden where people are living so that they can sell you stuff or store your stuff while you continue going out and adventuring. More and more people are living underground in UnderMarb, which Marbden and the pictograph language they use just uses a pictograph for the town of Marbden with a divider and the word for under. Pictograph for under, and that's UnderMarb. And it just continues growing that way. The more they look, the more they find, and it just keeps going, getting bigger. The more you find, the more it increases the level of knowledge and technology that you have, and you can walk on the steps of those who came behind you, the shoulders of those who came behind you, and then that you find new stuff. You're always increasing, always getting enriched with further stuff. By the time of the mid-story, when there are several million people living in UnderMarb and the Adventurers Guild has become a governing body, about that time, they've got lights that provide all the nutrition, light nutrition that plants and people need. They're not coming up anymore. They're just spreading outward and outward through UnderMarb. And Marbden is becoming a cultural capital. Not an actual capital of the kingdom, but it is growing by leaps and bounds. A huge place. People rich with culture and entertainment and theology and philosophy. It is becoming the beginning of a renaissance with this place. And eventually it reaches a point where Marbden's so big that they have to move the Adventurers Guild, checking my time, the Adventurers Guild, the point of government for Marbden, underground into UnderMarb itself, which really by this time, with Marbden being in the full swing of its cultural capital and feeling its oats, when Marbden decides to go underground, the ruling people decide, you know what, we need some stuff too. And in time, they go up and say to UnderMarb, since we are your port of exit, we think we need more from you. We will need more. You're going to have to pay us a tax to come out. At which point the people of UnderMarb just say, we have everything we need. You need us. We don't need you. And then they shut the doors. So Marbden and UnderMarb are now cut apart. It takes about a week before somebody from town drives a horse and cart with a whole bunch of stained and leaking wet burlap bags in it up to the closed gates of Marbden. And they bring out these bulky, wet, dripping, discolored burlap bags and just say to the gates, in these bags we have the heads of all of the ruling people, the heads of all the counselors that agreed to this, and the heads of all of their family and friends. They are gone. Can we talk? At which point UnderMarb opens up the gates again. They just come out and say, we always have a place at the table for anyone who is willing to talk. And even though the relations get better again, well, Marbden is still on the decline because everyone around them, because of all the tech that they've found and been selling, they've been able to reverse engineer and then build on top of that and keep going. They don't need Marbden and UnderMarb anymore. Everything is going well for them, so Marbden goes on the decline. As well as that through time, because UnderMarb is infinite with undifferentiated space. The further within you go, you will find arteries, huge open tunnels that travel just hundreds, thousands of miles, and off of these arteries branch other arteries, and from these arteries there are branches, and within these branches, each and every one of them can spread out infinitely. Marbden becomes huge. And it begins splitting because something that they're learning and discovering over here, 2 weeks over on this side of UnderMarb, they aren't really getting this stuff that's disseminated because they're finding their stuff over here. Eventually they start splitting and moving down into UnderMarb on their own. In time, because of the decline of Marbden, they stop trying to trade with UnderMarb, and UnderMarb has moved so far down because as you move outward, you don't just want to keep maintaining stuff 5 miles away, you bring it with you. They've been keeping an outpost for Marbden alive, eventually just with like one person trying to hold it open, and in years no one from under Marbden shows up. So they pull away, and that drops the persistence, and when the people of Marbden go, oh, we should check on UnderMarb, because of the lack of persistence, UnderMarb is gone. For Marbden, there is no more UnderMarb. For UnderMarb, they continue expanding inward and outward until they die out. Everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And as they expand inward, they are changing. They keep learning. They keep growing more tech. Eventually, by the time beginning, middle, and end, they will have changed so much physically, mentally, emotionally, and all that, we likely wouldn't recognize them as human anymore. But they just travel outward, outward, outward. Infinite enrichment until they're on their own. And Marbden itself, well, they start having to close down all of the buildings that they had been putting up and just shuttering them and mothballing them, and they just continue to rot, and Marbden gets smaller and smaller until it's eventually just a small, bucolic, and pastoral village surrounded by all of these ruins, and all the towns around you have fallen as well into just economic decay. So you're just a small, tiny village in the middle of all of this, and you've got stories and myths and legends of these ancient, infinite dungeons under the city, but no one's seen them for at least hundreds of years, until one day when there's a little earthquake, and some of the kids that are in this one valley, they discover that some of the rocks have shifted. And when you climb inside, there's UnderMarb. And the whole thing starts again. For this area, for Marbden and UnderMarb, it is this endless cycle, bust and boom. They get into UnderMarb, they start discovering, they become a cultural capital, everything spreads outward, people grow, and in time just decay. UnderMarb moves out, Marbden falls to ruin again, and then it all starts over. But UnderMarb is infinite. There's always more. Not in a bad way. And again, if you have one big room that's separated far enough, you go into this tunnel, well, call it an opening, a doorway, and you go into this opening, each one of these can spawn its own infinitely large dungeon that they overlap without overlapping. Think of it as a three-dimensional computer integer, well, variable array, where you define all your variables as having like, there's A, B, C. That would be your, we'll call them instead your X, Y, and Z. So it determines where you are this way, and this way. But then there's also a fourth one. Call it alpha. This determines what layer you're on. If you are on XYZ of 1, 2, 3, 1, you can have a great big building here. And you're inside of it and it's full. And if you're on 1, 2, 3, 2, you can have a huge building right here in the same place. But because they're not the same place, they both occupy the same place without being in the same place. End of Open Up 24 Hours worth of comments. My community tab. Going to go through and thank however many people have left me comments in the past 24 hours. If I mispronounce the username, no disrespect is intended. And even though I count American Sign Language, that's just my form of stimming. I don't really count anymore. I mean, I count. We all do. But of course, we don't because cosmic horror. Okay, take off my glasses so I can see. We have Jesse Koskinen. Always good to see you in the comments. Definitely a thumbs up. And then we have It's Relit snowing. Hokey smokes. How about that? It is wet and too warm for me. It's going to be a great summer. Nexor EH, thumbs up. And I love watching Jacksepticeye. I used to... The one video I watched till I almost died. Look up Markiplier's Getting Over It by Bennett Foddy. He was almost crying in frustration, getting up and actually throwing his sitting chair across his studio and almost screaming in frustration at this game. And I was dying of laughter at his pain. We have Beyond the Capsule, thumbs up and thank you. JAYY, greatly appreciate and good to see you. Floramew, hey, when you got him, flaunt him. And then we have Blue Toad. Well, I had actually not a bad night. Hopefully you've had a good day as well and good to see you. We have SHABUTIE554, thumbs up and thank you. Clancy R, greatly appreciated, thumbs up and and I'm going to keep on fighting Father Gascoigne. I'm looking up other exploits to try and get past him. Such a fight. And then we have Chris, greatly appreciated, thumbs up, and Shinra. I actually saw the trailer for Iron Lung. I saw that in my subscription list yesterday. It might be interesting. 77 Art Tourist, thumbs up and thank you, greatly appreciated. And then we have Timeless, greatly appreciated, and that is it. Thumbs up and thank you, each and every one of you. It is greatly appreciated. Definitely a thumbs up on that. I'm going to mention this one real quick, is my, and then I'm going to say goodnight. For my background picture, it is a very wonderful and sweet picture. It is a picture of a snake that has swallowed all of a young woman except of her feet. And you can see, it's almost like the snake skin is painted on her from her swallowed head all up to just her feet poking out of her body. And yeah, she's gonna head right down into that snake's tummy and it's going to digest her alive. It is beautiful and wonderful. I like it. So, I need to put my glasses on. So, I am going to do what I can today. Hopefully, I can get some kind of solo RPG done today. I really want to do Alone Against Fear, 4 Against Mars, and 4 Against the Great Old Ones for the channel, because they are awesome. Definitely a thumbs up. Hopefully you can get done the things that you want to get done. That would be cool. If not, don't beat yourself up. Survival's important. So, until we meet again, you take care. Have a great day today. I will, in fact, see you on the flip side, and that is a very good thing. I'm still looking for a good ending. I still have to do this way, so, I'm gonna come up with something soon. I mean, it's still amusing, but it's not, like, funny anymore. So, you take care, and I'll see you.